All right, so I think we can just kick this off. So welcome to our first pipeline authoring UX plus front end sync. Woo!
Ooh.
Exciting. So I don't have like a very specific plan for these meetings. Basically, it's meant to just be a place for us to meet and collaborate, bring any questions that we have for each other, and we can talk about design issues in flight or implementation issues that you're currently working on. So let's just kind of see how it goes.
Mhm.
I added a few things to the agenda. I see, Mireya, that you also added a couple things. Um, Most of my questions were for Sarah, actually, because she's
Mhm.
been working on mostly on the pipeline graph and on those issues that I mentioned. We had some async discussions. So I don't know if we're gonna dive very deeply into this, but I also linked the issues that I'm working on in 14.4. So just an FYI, if you ever want to have a look on what the design is working on, so like what's coming up for implementation in the next few milestones, you can have a look at the scope of UX in our planning issues. And I'm trying to keep this table up to date. So at least like once every 10 days or so, I will go in and update the status. And if there's some open questions there, I will also add a note, like if I'm waiting for some feedback from the engineers, then I will edit there. So you can also jump into those issues if you have the time. But either way, if I have like a specific question, I will just go ahead and tag you in the issue anyway. But just so you know, this is where you can find what I'm working on at any given time.
I
Um,
appreciate the that you note there when you last updated the table.
yeah, yeah. So that was, so yeah, now it's time for me to update it again because it's been a while. It's been more than 10
Yeah,
days now.
I appreciate the
Yes,
little note there. Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, so where I need help, the one thing I linked here is the mini pipeline graph component updates.
Mhm.
So the goal of these updates is to make the mini pipeline graph easier to use, so improve its usability and also align its states like hover states and focus states and generally behavior with the pajamas design system guidelines. So I also asked the question there in the issue whether we should add this component to GitLab UI or not. And so I wanted to discuss that and see what everyone thinks and why or why not we should add this to GitLab UI.
Yeah, I think I just commented on this um just a while ago, but I said I personally don't think we should create a GitLab UI component for it because even though it's reusable, it's mostly really used in the context of CI/CD, and it's not um, really like generic enough to be used like across the
Mhm.
product. And it's also kind of it's like it's something that will undergo a lot of changes in the future. So for me as a developer, if we add it to GitLab UI, it just adds another like complication to like updating it and then checking how it looks when it's used in other areas of GitLab. So yeah, those are
Mhm.
my thoughts on it.
Okay. So yeah, so if we were to make these changes, we would just make them to um, the current component. Can you talk a little bit more about like how it's currently built? Like
Okay, sure.
it's not in GitLab UI, but it's still something that we're reusing, or do we just like copy and paste code into different places
Oh
in the
no,
product?
there's like a reusable view component for it.
Uh-huh.
So the pipeline mini graph that's being used, like the one that I added in the pipeline status and the one that's on the pipeline table and the MR widget, they're all using the same component. So that one's reusable. It's just not on GitLab UI. And that's
Uh-huh.
why I kind of prefer it to not be in GitLab UI because it'll be easier to make changes in the future if it's just, in the same code base. But the link pipelines, like the upstream and downstream pipelines are also the same component, but they're separate components from the mini graph, like the main pipeline mini graph. So basically, like for the MR widget, we have like 2 copies of the upstream downstream the link pipelines, and then like one mini graph component, and that's how we're doing it for all the other pages. So if we want to make changes for like one of them, it's easy, because if you make a change like for the pipeline mini graph, it's gonna reflect on all of the other pages that use that component. The one that I'm not sure of is if we're changing something like with the layout, because like I said, the link pipelines and the pipeline mini graph are separate. So and I also think in different pages, they have different ways of arranging those components. Like they're not consistent. So I think when it comes to putting them all together, making sure that the spacing is correct, or like how they look when on mobile view versus desktop view, that might change depending on what page you're in. Yeah, does that give more context? I hope I answered.
Definitely. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just trying to find ways to like bring more consistency in how we display the mini pipeline graph, including the linked parts of it. So when the mini pipeline graph scales as the page scales down, we want to make sure that it all scales in a consistent way. But I also see that okay, it's also a reusable component now, so we can achieve the same goals without adding it to GitLab UI as well. It's just like a different approach. Okay. All right, sounds good. So I guess if we wanted to make those changes to our view component, we would just have to like break it down into separate issues and start addressing those. And we don't have to do it in GitLab UI. I'm just gonna talk to Dove about it so we can prioritize it. Okay, cool. And some open questions I added there. Actually, I saw that Sarah responded about this issue, so I think we can just take it async. Because that was like very specific to a discussion that we were having asynchronously in the issue with Sarah. So I'm just going to respond to her there. And Fred, if you watch the recording, feel free to check out this issue if you want to have some more context on what we've been working on. Yeah, so Mireya, do you want to talk about something that you added here?
Yeah, I also add what I've done like previous to this for Fred as well. Hold on, I'm getting the link. All right, okay. Oops. Yeah, so this is already done. So for the first part, we're already hosting the JSON schema for the syntax validation for the pipeline editor. So before we were using like a third-party scheme, we were fetching it from a third-party source, and now we're hosting it on GitLab itself. And then I added the missing keywords. This is actually related to, well, sort of related to what I need help with, which is the issue for auto-completion of CI keywords. Because this is kind of, I'm a little bit out of my depth with this one, because I feel like the issue here is less to do with the pipeline editor and more to do with Monaco, which is like the main editor that we are building on top of. So it's like a few layers deeper than that, and I'm not sure how to fix it exactly. I remember also that Fred did a spike that's related to this, that I'm not sure if, yes, so hi Fred, if you if you are able to catch up and can check this issue out, yeah, let me know, because I'm a little bit lost on how to move forward with this one. Yeah, but right now what I'm working on is showing the mini pipeline graph in the pipeline editor. So I just updated the issue yesterday. So I'm just gonna let you know that it'll take a bit longer. So what I've done is I put it behind a feature flag, and I'm gonna split it into 2 merge requests. So the one that I gave you, Nadia, was just adding the mini pipeline graph, and then the next one after that's merge is adding the upstream and downstream graphs. And also, if you could review it again, because I updated it to fix the responsiveness. I'm not sure,
yeah,
but
I see the video now. Yeah.
yeah, so that it wraps around when the screen is smaller. Yeah, I think that's mostly it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see the mini pipeline graph in the pipeline editor, because I think it's going to make it so much easier for you to track how your pipeline runs, because now you don't need to go to the pipeline page to see what's happening with your stages and jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have a look. Actually, I'm gonna have a look now at the video since we have the time.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it looks good. The only thing, when it scales all the way down to like a very small screen size, when we stack like the pipeline, the text and the commit, and then the mini pipeline graph, and then the button all on top of each other, it'd be nice if we could add a bit of padding between the mini pipeline graph and the view pipeline button.
Okay.
So just so there's like some room to breathe. Hold on, I will share my screen so I can maybe explain.
Oh, like on the top or
yeah,
on the
so
sides?
so between the view pipeline button and the mini pipeline graph, so they're not touching, but so there's maybe eight pixels padding, or you can make it equal to the padding between the mini pipeline graph and the commit here.
Okay.
So it's kind of the same distance, but otherwise it looks great.
Nice. I just fixed it this morning, so because I forgot to fix it the other day. But yeah. All right, I'll add that in.
Sounds good. Okay, yeah, I don't have anything else specific to talk about. So given Sarah and Fred are not here, I guess we could wrap it up early. But Mireille, if there's something else that you want to talk about, let me know.
Okay, I'm good for now as well.
All right, awesome. Okay, so wrapping up our first UX plus front end sync early. Thank you everyone for attending. So next one I will try to schedule so Fred can also attend, or we might have to rotate the timing. Kind of, we'll see how it goes. So I will reach out to you to make sure we can find a time that works for everyone, at least half of the time.
Yeah, and again, I'm available like a few hours after this as well. So if you need to schedule it a bit later, that's fine with me.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Mireille, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.